Welcome back. So in this video, we are going to build our final n8n workflow, or at least final for now, unless I come back and add more workflows. But for now, this is our last one, and this is our recruiter assistant workflow. So head over to n8n and click on create workflow. And now let's begin to build this thing out. So if you remember, we can't use Google Forms as a trigger. We have to use Google Sheets. So whenever a new row is added to our Google Sheets, that's when this workflow will run. So essentially, whenever someone submits a new application, our workflow will run through and grade their resume and so on. So click over here onto add first step and type in Google Sheets. And there we go. Click on that and do on row added. We don't want to look at on row updated, only on row added. Now for credential, just link your Google account. So I'm going to click create new credential and I'm going to sign in with my Google account. Make sure you sign in with the Google account that created your Google form and your Google Sheet. Otherwise, it won't work because you won't be able to find the Google Sheet. All right, perfect. So my account is connected. I'm going to click the X here. And now we can look at poll times. I'm going to leave this as every minute because essentially what we want is for every single application to be graded ASAP. And now we're going to head over to document and we're going to select our new form that we just made. So for me, it's this 2025 one. And for you, you should only be seeing one Google form unless you have multiple under your account. So I'm going to select the one we just made, and the Google Sheet is also going to be the one that we just made. So form response is 1, unless you renamed it. Now let's fetch a test event to make sure that we grabbed everything necessary and make sure everything's working as intended. And there we go. We have 2 items here for the output. And one of the items that was outputted was Jordan R and then their resume. So that's perfect. We have exactly what we need to continue working. So let's click back to Canvas. All right, so now that we have our Google Sheets trigger added, we have to go ahead to the next step and we actually have to pull that data out of there and get it into a text readable format. Otherwise, our ChatGPT agent is not going to be able to read this. So what we can do here, if you remember, we have used GET request before. Click on this plus action here and type in HTTP request, grab this. And now what you want to do is head back to the Udemy resources and grab the file data that is titled, let me double check what it's titled. It's titled recruiter assistant HTTP request code. Just copy the code in that and then paste it in this URL. So essentially what this is going to allow us to do is it's going to allow us to download the individual resumes that are uploaded on Google Sheets. So if you're noticing any type of error, if it's all red for some reason, just highlight this, delete it, and then go over to your Google Sheets trigger and then copy and then drag and hold this upload resume action or this upload resume field and drop it right before the period in front of split. So click on that and there we go. Now, if we run this, I don't believe it will work. Let's double check. Okay, and it doesn't. So essentially what we're seeing here is we are seeing the login screen. So if you want to go to this resume, let me show you what you would see if you don't have permission to view it. So let's copy this link. Let's head to a private browser. And if I paste that link into a new tab, I get this sign-in screen. So essentially I'm not able to view that resume by default. So what we're going to do is head over to our Google Drive where our resumes are being saved. So let's go over there right now and head over to your Google Drive and then look for our folder that is labeled the same name as our Google form, which is our entry-level data analyst posting. And these are our file responses. Now this would have been automatically created for you when you made the Google form. So head over to the actions menu on the far right. Click more actions, go down to share, click on share, and then it should be restricted, but now we want to move it over to anyone with the link can access these resumes. We're gonna click on done, and now we're gonna head back to our workflow and let's try to execute this one more time. And there we go. We get 2 different files for the 2 resumes that are attached within our Google Sheets. So now that is working as intended. All right, perfect. Okay, so now that we have these 2 things added, we can now click this plus action here, or plus item, and let's type in extract from file, click on this one, and then we're gonna do extract from PDF, wherever PDF is right here. And essentially what this is gonna do is it's gonna grab the text data from these resumes. So I believe we should be good to go right now. I don't think I have to specify anything. Let's click execute step. And if this works, we'll get an output of text data right down here. Perfect. So now in our output, we have this text data field, and now we're good to go with our AI agent. So our AI agent is going to intake this text field here, and then it's going to analyze it, it's going to score it, summarize it, give a list of pros and cons, etc. Essentially, this text right here is going to be fed into our AI agent model, and they'll be able to do whatever they want with it or anything we specify them to do with it. And now let's click on this plus action here, and let's enter in AI. So I'm just going to click on agent or type in agent, and I'm going to click on AI agent. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to change the source for prompt from this connected chat trigger node and change it over to define below. That way we are able to enter our own message into this prompt. So essentially we're now just telling this AI model what we want done. So this is the message we're sending to the AI model. So think of whenever you talk to ChatGPT, this is the same thing. We're just prompting something like ChatGPT to do something for us. So it's nothing complicated. I'm sure anyone that's used ChatGPT or similar is already familiar with how to prompt a large language model. But if not, this is essentially just sending a message with instructions to an AI model, and they'll do something for us. So I do have a prompt saved and added to the course resources under this lecture. So go ahead and open that up and copy that entire prompt and then paste it in the user message. Okay, so let me click on this expansion here just because it's hard to see this, and let's look at this prompt. So this prompt says, your job is to score resumes on a percentage scale from 1 to 100 based on how well resumes line up to the job posting located at this link. And we'll have to make this variable because right now this is from my other workflow, so it doesn't exist in this one. That's why it's going to be red for me and red for you as well. And then we say you can reference the resume submitted here, json.text, and this is going to be the text data dump from our last step. So this is just the resume. This right here is just the raw text data from the resume. And then I'm going to say return back a single value, that being a numerical value between 1 to 100, 100 being the most qualified for the job, 1 being the least qualified. So this isn't going to work yet. We have to go back to Canvas and we have to specify this variable. So just to make sure I get the exact correct named variable, I'm going to highlight this and make sure I get it without the curly brackets. And there we go. I'm going to highlight and copy. So it's just data analyst job posting. And let's click on back to Canvas and now head over to variables at the bottom left. Let's click on save so don't lose anything. And let's add a new variable. So the key is going to be the name that we saw. So I'm posting in data analyst job posting, and our value is going to be a link to our job posting. So to grab that, we're going to head back to our Google Drive or to our Google Forms and grab the link to that resume. And remember or not the resume, but the link to the job posting. And remember the job posting has to be made public or else our AI model will not be able to access it. And you could keep it private and then just give credentials to the model to connect with. That would definitely be the more secure way, but to keep things simple, we're just leaving it public. All right, so this is my job posting here. I'm going to click on file. I'm going to click on file, share, publish to web, and it's already published. I just need this link. And now I'm going to head back to n8n and I'm going to post that value into this field here. I'm going to click on save. So now we have this variable that whenever our AI model references this key or calls this key, it's grabbing the value associated to that key. So let's go back to our workflow and we can see exactly what I'm talking about. All right, let's go back to the AI agent. So double click on that and let's expand this. And now you can see that our data analyst job posting is green. All right, so we have everything we need now. Let's back out of this. And if we execute step, nothing should happen because we don't have a chat model linked. So go back to Canvas and we have a few options here. We can add a chat model, we can add memory, and we can also add tools to this AI agent. So all we're going to do here is we're just going to add an AI model or a chat model rather. And what I'm going to use is OpenAI. So I'm typing OpenAI and I'm going to call an OpenAI chat model. Now from this list, you can select different OpenAI models. But first I'm going to need to link my account. And again, this is what I mentioned in the last video where we made an OpenAI account. And this is where you'll actually be charged for how many requests you make to this model. Now I only added $10 and I've only used 1 penny so far. So if you just add $1 or less, you should be good to go. Now, I didn't verify if there's a minimum you have to put in, but I was never prompted on a minimum, so I believe you can do as little as you want. So I'm going to click Create New Credential, and I'm going to need to grab my API key. So let's head back over to our OpenAI site, and now let's look for our API keys. This is the same URL that was in the course resources, or if you just want to enter it in here, it's platform.openai/settings/organization and then billing overview. So I'm gonna head over to API keys, and I already have a key made, or I can create a new key. I'll just create a new key, and I'm gonna say n8n workflow, and I don't have any project specified, so I'm just gonna do default and then create a secret key. And now I have my key. So I'm going to click on copy and done. I'll just have to remember to delete that before I publish this Udemy course. So let's head back here and I'm going to paste in my API key. All right, so I pasted in my API key. I'm going to click on save and make sure that's loaded. All right, so it looks like that worked. I had a successful connection. Let's close this out. And if you have any problems or trouble grabbing that API key or signing up for OpenAI, please let me know in Discord or in the Q&A under Udemy, and I'll help you as best as I can. All right, so now we can select a model from this list here, and there's a whole pricing guide on the cost per query to different models. So let's head back to OpenAI, and I'm gonna head over to platform.openai.com/docs/overview. I'm gonna click on models here, and then I'm gonna click on pricing. And this gives us a pricing guide for all these different models. Now, it's not actually $2 per input. This is the price per 1 million tokens. If we head back over to the billing page, or let me head over to billing, actually not billing, let me head over to usage. You can see that the tokens I've used is only 16,000. So I'm not even close to 1 million used. So AKA, I'm not even close to $2 usage. I've only used 16,000 tokens. So let's head back to the pricing guide. Let me go back. There we go. And right here, we can see GPT 4.1 is $2 for input per 1 million tokens. And let me double check. So we have the mini selected by default, and that's going to be 40 cents per input for 1 million tokens. And that's fine. We're not going to get to 1 million tokens used. Now, if you're using this in a real world situation, of course, go over the pricing here, go over the pricing guide. Make sure you're aware of what it would cost you if you had, I don't know, X amount of users run this. So just be aware of that. And the good thing is, if you don't have any money left on your billing account, then it's just not going to run. You're not going to get overcharged. So if my $10 credit ever runs up, I will just not be able to make calls anymore to this API and nothing will run. But at least I'm not getting charged a ton of money in case maybe someone gets a hold of my key and starts running a ton of fraudulent queries against it. So that's a good thing at least. All right, so I'm gonna leave it as GPT 4.1 mini, and that's the model I'm gonna go with, or at least the model I'm gonna stick with. So I don't need to go with any other model, because especially for this use case, it's a very straightforward setup here. We're just prompting ChatGPT to summarize some text. So it's nothing crazy. Let's click on back to canvas, and now let's click on save again, and let's execute workflow and see if everything is working correctly. So the Google Sheets trigger worked, the HTTP request, we extracted the data from the file, and now we just queried our AI model successfully. Let's click this and let's look at the outputs. All right, so it outputted one of the items as a 75 score. And if we want to look at the logs here, we could switch over here and we could look at the entire input and output. So it looks like the inputs for Jordan R. Beckett got a score of 75, whereas the resume for John Smith got a score of 87. So it looks like John Smith's resume is way more aligned with our job posting, and that's good to hear. That makes sense. His resume has a lot more relevant experience and a lot more relevant skills. So it's good to see that this at least looks like an accurate score. Now we can head back to Canvas, or you can modify this prompt more if you wanted to check different things. Maybe you could say, look at the location for my job posting, see if they live near the area. That could be another flag, but I'm not going to go into that much detail. So I'm going to click on back to canvas. And now what I want to do is I want to save that data to a variable. So I want to save the score to a variable, because when I eventually end up writing into the Google Sheets row, I want to easily call in that specific variable because I know exactly which AI agent is giving me a score and which AI agent is giving me the summarized look at the resume. So I don't want to accidentally put summarized data over the score and vice versa. So it's really easy to just set this output into a variable. That way we know we're grabbing the right data every single time. All right, so let's click on this plus icon here and let's type in set. And this is how we're going to set a variable. So click on this field here and we're going to do manual mapping, click on add field, and this is going to be for our score. So I'm going to change this data type from a string to a number, means we are storing a numerical value, and I'm going to call this resume score. So this is our variable name, and now our variable values will be from our AI agent here, and it'll be under this output function. So I'm going to say output is our score. So this will be our score. And now we're saving these scores under the variable resume score. All right, let's head back to Canvas. And there we go. Now we have this saved under a specific variable. Okay, so now that we have our variable here set, let's click on this plus icon here and let's add our second AI agent. And this AI agent is going to summarize the resume. And now I have a prompt that we can use for this AI agent as well. So check out the course resources. So in the resources, the name of the file you're going to need to grab the data from is called OpenAI prompt summarize resume.pdf. So open that up and then you're going to copy that entire prompt and then paste it over into this prompt message here, or this prompt field here. Let's click expand. And now we're saying your job is to give the hiring manager a list of pros and cons regarding the applicant's resume. So based on how well the resume lines up with the job posting located at this link, using this variable we've already specified here earlier, you can reference the resume submitted here. And the resume is just the text that we're grabbing from this extract operation. And we're telling the AI model to return back a short list of pros and a list of cons if there are any pros or cons. Along with this list, also give us your opinion on if this employee would be a good fit based on the skills and prior experience. Finally, remember you're summarizing this applicant's resume, so your purpose is to save time for the hiring manager. Don't give too long of a list or a summarization, too long of a summarization. All right, perfect. So that is good to go. Now we do have to link our AI model again. So we have the AI agent made. We just have to link a chat model. I'm going to use OpenAI again, and I'm going to use the same exact model, and I already have my credentials stored. So let's click back to Canvas. Let's run this workflow again and make sure everything's working. All right, so we can see if we zoom in, we ran both items here. We have 2 items run, and if I double click this, I can look at the outputs. Let me look at the logs. So for, I think this is Jordan R. This is the inputs and the output is right here. So we have a list of pros, a list of cons, and overall fit shows that Jordan shows promising entry-level skills that align well with the job requirements, especially in data cleaning, visualization, and so on. If we want to look at John Smith, we can look at all of John Smith's pros and cons and overall opinion. ChatGPT says that John Smith is a strong fit for this entry-level position. Skills are closely matched with the core requirements and so on. All right, perfect. So now we have 2 AI agents, one that scores the applicant and the other that is giving us a full summary or a full breakdown on the applicant's pros and cons. So now what we want to do here is click this plus icon here, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to set a variable, and this variable is going to be a string output just containing all these pros and cons. So I'm going to drag this output here. I'm going to store it in the value, and the name will be resume pros/cons. If I execute this step, we should see, yes, this data is now stored into this variable. Let's click on back to Canvas and let's take a breather. I know we did a lot, so let's do a recap of everything we've done. So from the very start, we made a Google form, we made a Google Sheet, we added a few resumes, we also signed up for OpenAI's billing, and now our trigger is whenever rows are added to this Google Sheet, we will make a request to visit and download the resumes. So once we download the resumes, we're going to extract the text data from those resumes. And once we do that, we're going to send this data over to our AI agent to score the resume. based on how well it aligns with our job posting. After that, that AI agent is going to save that information into the resume scores variable. Next up, our other AI agent will summarize and give us a list of pros and cons of the applicant's resume, and then save that data into another variable. All right, so at this point, we're looking really good. The most important thing now is to update the Google Sheet. So let's click on this action here, and let's type in Google Sheets and click on that. And we're gonna say we want to update a row in the sheet. So for credentials, let me sign back in, I guess. Okay, so I'm signed back in with Google, and the resource will be a sheet within the document, and our document will be our Google Sheet we just made. So this entry-level data analyst posting, let's click on that. And the sheet is just the sheet within our Google Sheets. So that's kind of confusing, but if you think of Excel, your Excel, I guess, document can have multiple Excel sheets. It's the same thing with Google Sheets. This Google Sheets document can have multiple different sheets within it. Or the sheet that we're referring to within the sheets is this right here, the form responses one. So hopefully that all makes sense. I know that's a lot of tongue twisters there. All right, so let's scroll down, and we have to specify the column to match on. So we want to make sure that we're giving the correct applicant the correct score. We don't want to give John Smith's score over to Jordan and give Jordan's score over to John Smith. So we have to make sure we're matching on something that is going to be unique. So a unique field is always going to be your email address. As long as you entered in your email address, as long as you entered your email address correctly, there's never going to be someone with the same email. It's just not possible. Now, what we're going to enter into this email address is from our Google Sheets trigger, and we're going to drag this over and drop it here. There we go. So this is the email of the row that we'll be updating. So right now we're looking at Jordan R at cloudta.com's email. So that's the row we're looking at. Over here, we're going to upload their resume score, and we can grab that from our first edit fields operation. So I'll drag that score over here. And now we're going to upload their feedback and summarization. So I'm going to drag that variable output down here as well. All right, so we're looking good. I think everything's set up correctly. Let's just execute this step to make sure that we are updating the correct rows. And there we go. We have two items. It looks like Jordan's data successfully went over to Jordan's row. Let's make sure that John's row was updated as well. So let's head over to our Google Sheets and make sure that worked. So I just opened up our Google Sheets, and I can see that we have updated our rows correctly. We can see that Jordan R's score is 78, and this is his list of pros and cons. Let me expand that a little bit, and let me expand the height of this one and height of that one. And we can see the overall pros and cons and the overall fit of both users. So Jordan, we know this is for Jordan because the name Jordan is within the description, and the John Smith review is within the row for John Smith. So we can see John Smith is a strong fit for an entry-level position, and so on. And we should probably text wrap this data just because we can't see all of it. So let me click on this cell here, click on format, then we could head down to text wrapping and then click on wrap. And now we can see that all this text is wrapping within this field. So now we can read everything. Or you can also double click it to see all the data. All right, perfect. So we have built 95% of this workflow. If we head back to the workflow, the only other thing I had was an if statement to say if the score is 85 or better, send a message to our hiring manager. So let's build out the final steps now. So click on this plus icon here and type in if, and then click on this if statement. So within this if statement, we're going to head over to the conditions for value 1, and we're going to say where down here at a fields where the resume score is, we're going to say number is greater than or equal to. So if it's 85 or better, we're going to type in 85, and then we're going to go ahead and do whatever we want with that data. So execute step, it's only going to get one response. It's only going to get John Smith because John Smith is the only applicant with a score that is 85 or better. Let's head back to Canvas and let's do our final operation here, which is if it is true there is an applicant with an 85 score or better, let's send a message to our hiring manager. So I'm going to type in Slack here, and I'm going to click send a message, and let's head over to our Slack right now. And I've already made a section for Slack, and it's called hiring managers. And then this is our job posting here, data analyst -job. So I've already made the channel. This is just test data I've done in the past, but now that we have this channel made, or you know what, let me just make a new channel. I'll say create channel, blank channel. We'll say new data analyst job. I'll click create. We're going to skip this. And now let's head back to our workflow. And now let's make sure we have our Slack account connected. I do have it connected already. Head down to send a message to, and we'll specify we're sending a message to a channel. And then the channel will be the channel I just made. I think it's called new, I forgot, new data analyst job. There we go. And the message text, let's just say new resume submitted from, and let me drag in the email address here. New resume submitted from this user with a score of, score of 85, and then one more comma. I'll say view the resume here. And now we need a link to our Google Sheet. So let's just come over here. Let's copy this link and then head back to our workflow and then just paste that link in there. Now I'm not sure if this is going to send as a URL or just blank text. So let's just execute step and see what we got. All right, so we've sent a message over to Slack. Let's go look. There we go. Looks like the link did embed. Looks like Slackbot's asking if I want to connect it. I'm just going to delete it because I'm not really worried about that. So now we can see whenever a new resume is submitted, if the score is over 85, we're going to send that data over to our hiring manager within this Slack channel. So ideally, maybe the hiring manager is, I don't know, doing something else and they're waiting for really good candidates to hop in so they can move forward with them, schedule an interview, something like that. Now they'll know exactly who to move forward with. It'll be a streamlined operation. They don't have to do any manual reviewing. They don't have to rely on another platform to review it. It's all done within this workflow and it's sent over to Slack and they can instantly go ahead with the strongest candidates. Now, let me just state this. I am not a big proponent on AI reviewed resumes or applications. I do think AI can misjudge or misgrade or misscore these resumes. That's why it's really annoying to apply to jobs in this day and age, just because a lot of this is reviewed by AI. But for the purpose of this workflow, we did demonstrate how you would be able to have an AI model review a resume. Now, of course, I do believe that AI could potentially grade resumes correctly, or at least better. You just have to add a lot of different instructions and prompts and a lot of different rules into the prompt to the model. So you could say add, extra points if they're located in the area, or if they mention they're open to relocation, extra points if they have these skills, blah, 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 and so on. Anyways, I don't mean to ramble too much. We did create the workflow successfully. We can view the resume here, and this will just take us to our Google Sheets. And we can see both of our applications here. I could also sort this column from A to Z, or I guess Z to A, descending order. So now we'd have our best applicants on top. And then I could just, scroll down here if I maybe don't like any of the top applicants by score and I want to see my other fits or my other options. And there we go. We have successfully built our n8n workflow. And if we want to save this and turn it on, whenever we receive a new resume application to our Google form, it will run through all these steps. It will save the resume into our Google Drive. It will grade it, and then it will send us a message on Slack if they have a score above 85. So now my challenge is to you. How about you go ahead, create a sample resume, throw it into the Google Forms, and then watch it grade that resume and see if you can get a resume that's over the 85 score limit threshold, and then see if a message gets sent over to your Slack channel. But just like that, that is our last workflow, at least for now, that we have created within this course. So I hope you enjoyed the n8n section. n8n is a very easy to use tool in my opinion, but it can get very complex. So just how we made very simple workflows in the beginning of where if we got an email, then we would send a message in Slack, you can make this very complex. You could have an agent call another agent, or even an agent call an entire different workflow and then maybe that workflow calls another workflow, sends data back to this workflow, and so on. You can make a very complex workflow. So my advice is, rather than focusing on trying to make a very complex workflow, try to come up with a few problems that you have to deal with every day, or I don't know, every week or something like that, and see if there's a way to automate that. Any repetitive task you can think of, or anything that you would rather automate than have to do manually, try to run through n8n and come up with possibilities on how you could eliminate some of these repetitive tasks in your daily life. So again, I hope you enjoyed n8n. n8n has been very fun to work with. It is a very popular tool, and I only see this growing over time, or at least other similar related workflow automation platforms growing over time, because AI agents are the biggest thing right now in 2025, and I imagine it's only going to get more popular. So again, hopefully you have enjoyed this section, and I'll see you in the Zapier section.